Alrighty, so as we're working through our Chapter 5 review assignment from page 407, we've got this video for us, but make sure that you've already done all these problems and you're using this to check your answers. In problem number 2, we've got a product raised to another power. So as we simplify, it says to tell which properties. We are literally going to tell and say it out loud. You don't have to take the time to write them down. As long as you know how to use them, good enough. So we've got our power raised to a product. Our product raised to a power. So what we do is we distribute that exponent. So we have 2 to the negative 5th. X to the, we need to multiply our exponents. Negative 2 times negative 5 gets us positive 10. And then y raised to the negative 15th when we multiply those. Now anything with a negative exponent, remember, it gets moved to the denominator. So we'll have x to the 10th left over in our numerator, 2 to the 5th, and y to the 15th in our denominator. When we move it to the basement, remember that it gets a positive exponent. You can leave it here, or if you're more comfortable with 32 instead of 2 to the 5th, that works too. I would accept either. In problem number 6, we are asked to graph. So what we'll do is we'll pull up our graphing calculator for that guy. Alrighty, so as we are graphing problem number 6, we're going to go first from our home screen to our y equals. And then I've got x to the 4th minus 2x squared minus 5x plus 1 in my y equals. Don't forget that these need to be minus signs, not our negative signs, right? Very different. So we've got that entered into y equals. I would start first with a standard window. So we go zoom 6, z standard, zoom standard, and just see where that takes us. Now it looks like this one we could probably really easily scrunch in on our x-axis, right? We don't need all this blank space off to the left and to the right. So maybe we change our windows and our x-axis will just go from negative 5 to 5, and we can still count by ones. That works. So now our graph looks a little bit better. We could still probably zoom in, but we'll call this good for now. So we want to make sure that we've got a nice sketch drawn in on our graph from here, or on our paper. And so then what we want to do is just pick out a couple points and make sure that we've got those labeled. So if we hit trace, and then we just type in some of these values for x. So at x equals -1, it looks like we have the ordered pair -1, 5. So we can plot that point. And then at trace x equals 0, we got the point 0, 1. That makes sense, right? Y-intercept. And then at x equals, at x equals 1, got the point -5. X equals 2, we're at -1, and then it looks like from there we're shooting up pretty quickly, right? So as we arrow over, we're seeing some of these values just get bigger and bigger. So I would say just having at least a couple points plotted would be sufficient. Alrighty, so as we include our sketch, I went ahead and just drew on our axes. And since we have our x-axis going from -5 to 5 and our y's from -10 to 10, went ahead and drew in those tick marks. And then we said that some of the points we found were 0, 1, and then at -1 we had +5, so I moved left 1 and up 5, and the point 1, -5, right 1 down 5, and then what do we have? 2, -1. So we end up something along these lines, and it does something wonky somewhere around there. Yeah, that's good enough. Alrighty, so then in problem number 9, we start to move on to section 5.3, where we're doing polynomial operations. So when we subtract polynomials, remember you need to distribute that minus sign to every single term in that second polynomial. So what we can do from there is drop those parentheses as long as we remember to distribute. So minus 4x and then plus 8 at the end. From there, we really can combine our like terms. So nothing combines with my 3x cubed. And then I've got -4x squared minus x squared, same sign, add and keep, minus 5x squared. I've got plus 3x minus 4x, so we're down to minus 1x, or just minus x. And then minus 5, whoopsies, plus 8. We need to end with a plus 3 at the end. Final answer.